It's something about the Truman Show, whether that is your life and or the simulation production that we're all a part of somehow, some way. But it's being canceled. It's been canceled. And I got the sense through the pre-shuffle that it's been canceled quite abruptly, like almost like in the middle of the season or in the middle of production. It's not coming to, well, I don't think it was ever supposed to end or there was any ending projected. But I do believe that the timing in which things are falling apart in production was unexpected, maybe even unprecedented. It's as if somebody's pulling the plug or something has pulled the plug, and maybe similar to the movie, of course, where Jim Carrey starts to realize the holes in production and the sequence of his life experiences and realizing that something wasn't right until it snowballed into full self-awareness and circumstance awareness, to the point where eventually the production couldn't keep up with the regularly scheduled program anymore. And there's something about that I picked up today in the pre-shuffle. And I don't know to what extent, I don't know how that message gets to be continued, but I know that it's like the executives, the director, the production team, the actors, everybody is just suddenly, abruptly out of work. And it seems as though the main character, the star of the show, if you relate to that, if you resonate with that, gets to move on. They get to move on either in some spinoff or something, some new series altogether where they are the creative director of their own vision of life. So take that as you will. As I said, I'm not sure if we're continuing on with that or if that was just something, I feel like it was just something that I kind of needed to share, but it was so profound in the cards and in the channeling that I couldn't not share. But of course, I'm Danae. This is a message for you if you receive it as such. Today is Sunday, August 2nd, and it's 2:19 p.m. on the clock. All right. So what I think I'm going to do, I think I'm going to pull some of my black and white cards, and then I may clarify. I have the Kipperish deck out here. I don't know. It's just how I'm feeling guided today. So we'll see. All right. I hope you're doing well. I hope your weekend has been great. I really, truly do. Mine has been relaxing. I actually found myself caught in a series that I saw in my, app perusing, but I never thought that I would be interested in watching. But somehow I've been drawn into Married at First Sight. And I have so many thoughts and so many opinions. It almost provokes me to want to do like my own, I don't know, it kind of inspires me to want to share my perspectives on different things that I watch through reaction channels. So I don't know, that might be something coming soon. But anyway, it's a pretty provocative program. It really is, because it evokes all types of deep considerations for me personally about love and marriage and commitment. And of course, it's a production of sorts, but these are still real people for the most part, even when it seems like one person is not all in, but the other is there for, organic reasons, just purely wanting to have the experience. Is still interesting to see how we as humans navigate such high pressure circumstances. And it's made me quite thoughtful about like just marriage. And I know it's a terrible lens to consider my own perspective through, but it definitely does, like, whew, it's not typical that you're necessarily going to marry someone before you even meet them or see them. But essentially, to some degree, what it evokes for me is that you are still kind of strangers before you take that full leap into commitment, even when you think you've known someone dating or even perhaps living together or being quite closely and intimate. Is something about that deep level of commitment that can change things, and it can bring out the best or the worst in people, maybe a little bit of both. So I don't know, it makes me think, it makes me wonder, like, how ready am I? How ride or die till death do us part am I? you know? So I don't know. But anyway, that was a total side note that I don't know why I needed to share. Maybe I just needed to release it. I will check it out. I'm watching it on Peacock, but I think it's also some seasons on Hulu. Not sure how recent though. Or on I think it's on Lifetime Network. If you have like regular cable. What even is that anymore, right? Even though, shoot, to have all these damn apps and stuff, it just about amounts to what a regular cable bill began to be, which is why we all jump ship, for the most part. So they're getting back there. They're getting back to it. Okay. So we got the 9 of Wands here. So wounded warrior. Okay. Let's see. What about the 9 of Wands? Oh, but coming out victorious. So this could be like the energy of like just facing something that is difficult, is challenging, but persevering, staying the course, maintaining your commitment to the charge and the challenge, and there being a reward on the other side. Let's see, the difference is a 3 of Wands. I guess so some great expectation makes sense on account of something that you really kind of pushed through or persevered through against all odds and against a great deal of resistance, perhaps, against what may have even seemed like insurmountable challenges. Maybe where you were even slated to fail or to stay in a cycle, in a rut. Somehow there's a surprise ending here, or a twist, a turn of events. And the 6 of Wands definitely is some type of public recognition or spectacle. Could even be like I just got this hit. Like I was saying, like now you get to kind of write your own story or dictate your creative direction. It could be taken all of those experiences that may have been traumatic and challenging and unfortunate to some degree, but maybe also inspirational, and like packaging it all up into something that is fascinating enough to be um, either recreated through a series or television or in a book, or that your testimony is something that people would want to hear, you know, that has some type of impact or um, effect or something, you know. Yes, that too. But let's see what else, because I really want to get to the other deck if I can. There's some triumph here, that's for sure, despite whatever the obstacles could have been. Oh, that's too many, but well, is it? I don't know. The obstacles, the resistance could have been. Yeah, I'm gonna take them so I can scurry along. It's only two anyway. Yeah, like almost having like a head-on collision with something or someone. Could even have been like I was saying, creative differences, back into that like TV and production aspect, where the network, the producers or the director had something much different in mind than what the main character began to portray. And there could have been some pushback on a particular direction that a story was taken. And take this, you know, I'm saying it practically, but it's far more spiritual, I believe, honestly. But there was some clash, because this is probably energy that, you know, this is what made good television, you know, for the trauma, the drama, the conflict, continuous cycle of conflict with no resolution, much unlike the Truman Show, because that was kind of like, you know, It's a Beautiful Life type of energy. But I don't even know what that is about actually, but the energy just seems right. Like very Stedford, you know, hunky dory. What's the other show? What was that show? With what's this? What was it? Opie and Aunt May. That's that show where it's just like it was supposed to be a feel good type of production or program. But anyway, this is the opposite, which, you know, considerably the connection to Married at First Sight is also a depiction of trauma, drama, conflict that seems to just continue to spiral and compact and compound onto itself, and so on and so forth. And then you have, of course, these glimmering moments of resolution here and there, but far more few in between than the conflict itself, you know. And that's what it's giving here, like the direct, as long as this was continuing to like almost a soap opera. Yeah, oh, okay. Yeah, so like how soap operas are always just a continuous storyline of something tragic or something dramatic. That's what was intended to stay in production. But once someone started to find their way out of conflict through resolution, through self-awareness of the surroundings, the setting, you know, started perhaps again going rogue or writing their own storyline or narrative, that's when the production itself started to be at odds and perhaps even take a loss, because it wasn't quite getting the ratings or, you know, the advertising or the benefits, the profit from what it was originally created to be. So somebody really like I'm getting so many downloads here. It's like somebody continue to impose and project tragedy onto your life as a means of either their own personal entertainment or entertainment on a larger scale, and ultimately profit from that entertainment. Mm-mm-mm. Okay. Let's see. What's after the magician? Like, how many ways can we keep this character down to keep the story going, to keep the trauma going, the drama, keep the audience locked in, or the sponsors invested, or whatever, and the character none the wiser all along? And the minute you started to kind of find your way out of that storyline in that sequence, is the more aggressive the projections became, or like the intrusions of circumstances that would, what's the word I'm looking for, that would um oh my gosh, this is hitting home for me. The intrusion of circumstances that would kind of knock someone back into place again and back into tragedy. So for some of us, we've been on a continuous loop of like beginning, getting your footing, getting your bounds, grounding yourself, beginning to thrive, make strides, and having successes and wins, and then you get knocked back down again, suddenly back to one, to rebuild and start all over. And that's been continuous. I have had my moments of that, and at each moment, at each season of my life, I, because of who I am, have found the gratitude, have excavated the lesson even when it was down deep, way down there, and have found the resilience, the courage, the strength, the determination to dust myself off, get back up, try again, restart, rebuild, and continue to cultivate new hope, new faith, even better hope, and faith than the last season or cycle before, to advance on account of what I've learned from that experience. And I felt the attempts to bring that energy back into my life again, to knock me back down to square one, to make me feel like, oh, I gotta restart again, I gotta rebuild, I have nothing, I gotta figure out life at this point, and so on and so forth. But that's where this is coming from. Like, there was a change in the program where perhaps, like me, you couldn't be knocked down to one again, or to zero for that matter. You couldn't be traumatized all over again for entertainment purposes, to kind of watch you flounder and find your way above water and then stable out again, and then just the setup for someone to start it all, like literally the soap opera cycle. You canceled that program. You canceled that production, perhaps mid-season. You ever watch the show and it only lasts a season, but it leaves you on a cliffhanger, and you're like, damn, are they ever going to bring that back? I really want to see I want to see where that was going. but it ain't no new season in sight, no closure whatsoever. That's the energy that the production is experiencing, the executives are experiencing, because they felt quite sure and quite certain that they were locked in for another season, at least, maybe more, of the same old story. They had already the advertisement was already locked in, the audience was already set, the projection of a new season to come was already announced. People had their popcorn just waiting. And not only is there not going to be a new season of the same, it's not even going to finish the season that was started. What's being produced now is like a whole nother show. And it has its own line of revenue and sponsors. And as I said, a new creative director, a new showrunner, a whole new team of production that someone is not the odd man out of as the star, as the leading role, but they're very much so an active creator of, which means that they're going to get the benefits of not just being mere talent, disposable talent. Not that talent is truly disposable, but you know how networks do you. Is like they'll extract as much as they can from you until you don't prove to have the same value, and then it's on to the next. No, somebody's locked in. So they have the writing credits, the creator credits, the directing credits, the talent, what do you call it, like when you're a part of the union or whatever, what is it, SAG-AFTRA or whatever the hell, like they have the rights and the protection, the security. And after the show was done, they're still going to be getting paid. Like whenever they own their likeness, it's something different happening here. It's something, it's not what was intended. This is way off script for the so-called powers that be, that had the most to gain from someone being a perpetual victim in their own story. Wow. And of course, like I can't help but notice the 9 to the 6. It's like there is a depreciation in ratings, perhaps, in quantity, but the quality of the viewer is much greater here. At the Six of Wands, it's like people that were just watching to see the mess, the drama, the trauma, they may fall off on account of now this kind of turning into more of a happy ending type of story, a triumphant tale. The people that it might be too boring or too whatever for those that were here for the toxicity. Like that's what they wanted to see. That's what sells. That's why we watch reality anyway, right? For the drama. There are very few shows, even the ones that are kind of feel good, still give you a little bit of conflict because that's what sells. That's what draws people in. But there's a different type of conflict here that attracts a different viewer. Maybe perhaps the conflict of this changing of fortune and fate and favor and power, that those that resonate with that storyline are locked in for, like, It's like on appointment TV all over again. Like they locked in, they ain't gonna miss a show. And whereas you might lose some of those that were just here to see what the new mess was going to be, or how down bad the main character was going to get this season, those are the ones that didn't really matter anyway. They were fair weather viewers anyway. They weren't locked and loaded. They were conditional. And something about the energy that's associated to that profit isn't even truly sustainable. It's like a different, market of sorts, where folks that are locked into this more triumphant storyline, those are the advertising dollars that are reliable. Like that's the market that, those are the ones that are spending real money, and money on things that are truly of value and that make a substantial impact in the market or whatever I'm trying to say here. But it's like the folks in that were watching trash TV or are attracted to trash TV don't really attract premium advertising dollars, if you or they don't consistently, like they may not even have no money to spend, or their finances are stretched in a different way where it's not as lucrative or fluid. So there are more people but less to gain. There are less people here but more money flow, more some more financial fluidity to kind of tap into. I don't know why I needed to say that. Damn, look at this. 5 of Cups. Yeah, grave disappointment that the ratings are dropping. And it was probably, how this network stuff works, the industry as it is, where there's so much power that's been inflated at the top of a structure or an entity that it feels almost indomitable. It feels like a machine that you couldn't make it without. And they begin to move and operate as if they are. Justifiably, because as I said before, like the collective contribution to this simulation, if you will, has perpetuated that inflation. And even inflation is the loaded word. Think about it on a different scale, like, because I'm talking about advertising and marketing and stuff like that, like how the more things keep going up, we complain about it, but we don't necessarily stop buying. We don't protest with our purchasing power holistically, because to some larger degree, we kind of feel like we're in a chokehold, or a headlock, especially for the things that you need or you've conditioned yourself to need, that would be cause some great inconvenience to go without. At least you pay the inflated prices for the smaller product, because you don't, like soap, for instance. Them bars of soap getting smaller and smaller, ain't they? But you do need soap, and the only alternative is either to buy something that you don't really like, or it's not as effective. My light just went off. Or to make your own, which is a whole nother level of inconvenience if that's not really what you desire to do, So yeah, that there goes, like, you're back up against the wall where you're feeling like, oh, well, I guess I gotta go ahead and purchase it. Or in this case, if you want to express yourself or share your talents, share your story, that you feel like you have to go through the channels of the industry, to do so. The production companies, the networks, the big brands, the publishing houses, the record labels, like, of course, all of that is crumbling by the day, but there's still a facade that's been upheld to believe there's some semblance of power and influence that is worth buying into. But something or someone, perhaps you, is just completely destroying that facade from the top down. Like, no, you actually don't need any of that. You can self-publish. You can release your own music. You can create, of course, we can create our own entertainment with the push of a button on our phone now, and so on and so forth. And of course, the powers that be try to infiltrate that with their promises and their infusions of capital in exchange for control, and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, I feel like there is a shift in the power dynamic that's happening. As I said, it's perhaps like it did in the movie with Truman Show, was starting to happen subtly as they continue to try to hold on to the facade and the control and the production, maintain the production, but it's coming to some type of abrupt ending that executives and the production powers that be literally have no control over, and they're also going to have no profit in. There's not going to be a place for them to profit anymore inorganically as they were as they were before, holding people hostage to contracts and unfair, in some ways even unlawful agreements, or making them feel like they're beholden or prisoner to loopholes and lies and illusions and so on and so forth. This is their lot now to manage, because like I said, the whole team is out of work. The actors that were hired in the production, the players in the game, the director, the producers, the executives, everybody is about to be out of work and out of profit. Let me get one more. I don't even know if I want to continue with Kev's cards. I guess I'll get a couple. And residuals and royalties and all the things of the sort that have been withheld from people unjustifiably is somehow going to be recovered. For those that are in alignment for it, and perhaps everybody may not be, but for those that are in alignment for that recovery, or their next of kin, or their estate, we're going to start seeing that transfer of energy go back to where it's supposed to be. Landmark cases and things of that sort that you would never expect for people to win, or victories that they come out of on account of faulty contracts or agencies misrepresenting themselves or something of the sort. Like, there's a new liberation that's happening, a rebalancing and restructuring of power. Woo, okay. Taking that power back. Right on the other side of the eight. Like, this was not anticipated, because the powers that be, or were, peace to Shabi Zane, have done a good job of, again, making us all believe that we needed them or it to be successful, to thrive, even to survive. And we've, again, played into that illusion We've contributed to it. We've helped create it. Certainly helped to expand it and strengthen it. And self-realization and awareness of just who is the talent here, who is the spectacle, who is the star, is what's making all the difference. Who, you don't have a show without the star. You don't have a story without the subject. It's not your story to tell. And if there at least isn't going to be some equal and balanced profit share and respect and creative control, then there will be nothing at all. And some of you will take your story or your talents, your abilities, your visions elsewhere where you can project them and express them in a way that truly does you justice, that holistically does you a service and a great justice. And when you cut out all the energies that were just, basically feeding off of what you had to offer in the first place, but positioning themselves to be some type of gatekeeper or waymaker or something of the sorts, they're left to, here it is, to find new talent, a new subject matter, a new victim, but the talent pool is shrinking by the day for quality, for quality. It's no longer quality. It's because those that know they are truly a star are, like I said, taking the power and the initiative in their own hands. And what's left is that toxic pool, of which is only fleetingly profitable. You can't really rely on it. You can't depend on it. They may have money to spend today, but none tomorrow. Now it's parasitic in its own way, where it will consume everything that you pump out, but there's really not a whole lot that you can get from it in exchange. And in this case, for the energies like this, to get in an imbalanced quantity where you'll be able to take more from it than what, extract more from it than what you will have to give. It's going to take more energy to produce this lower frequency, more time, more of an investment, more energy to find sponsors that will even align with that, or advertisement that would find value in that. And then you're only going to get but so much out. You may get one good season, you may get a couple, but it's just trash TV at the end of the day. Like Zeus. I'm counting Zeus's days. I don't watch it, but just the energy that I feel from it and the things that you hear about it and the programming that is there, it's only a matter of time before eventually it collapses. Maybe from the inside out, but where it just can't sustain itself anymore, like I was saying. But yeah, it's inevitable. Let's see what's on the bottom here. Yeah, like having to literally pump it out, overproduce. That's what I'm getting. And it's really about the quality of this product now. Because you can have like the Housewife franchise, and I'm guilty of watching some of those too. It's as a matter of fact a guiltless pleasure to some degree. where I wasn't watching at all for some years, and then I got pulled back in. But I'm not really too invested. If anything, it's just more, to me, like it's more conceptual of spiritual conflict, to observe for me. That's where I see it, than it is like real deal entertainment, you know. But anyway, there's a million and one housewife shows or something of the sort where it's the same formula, but it's only a matter of time before that begins to time out as well, where it's just not worth making anymore, or the stars of the show, as you can see, like the deterioration of characters and friendships and marriages, and it's always the same thing. It's never anything different. The longer that you're on those shows, the longer you will probably experience some type of hit to your real life that you wouldn't have otherwise. You probably wouldn't have otherwise if it wasn't for all the exaggerated circumstances and intrusive circumstances. Well, I don't know if it'll ever stop people from wanting, being drawn to that temptation of fame and fortune that could come along with it eventually. But it certainly does take a toll on your real life. And no matter how many ways you can see that on display and exemplify, people still do it. But that's what I'm saying. Like, there's still a pool to choose from, but how valuable is it really? How precious is it? How sustainable can it be for the long run, for eternity? Not much. And it definitely doesn't yield this in the end. It yields a whole bunch of personas of empresses, putting on airs and the makeup and the costume and renting the home and projecting a lifestyle, but deep down, people are messed up. Probably literally like prisoners in their own lives, like a psychological mess. No way. Oh my gosh. Look at this. No way. This is what they're working so hard for, and it's a trauma factory. That's what we're looking at here. I'm gonna just take a couple because I said I would. And I don't want this to be too long. Trauma factory. Somebody's got to stop that assembly line. Maybe it ends with you. Maybe it has ended with you. Maybe even in your bloodline, where you were supposed to perpetuate certain cycles, and the producers of your series, whether that be, the actors and players in your midst, or those that were making decisions and projecting them onto your storyline, creating them for you. What was I saying? Oh, what did I say right before that? Oh, well, you were supposed to continue that trauma, and you didn't. You haven't. You've done something different, something that was not in the script, something that was not planned for, prepared for. Yeah. Like I said, through your bloodline, through your lineage, from your upbringing, culturally, familially, circumstantially, your story was supposed to be headed down a certain path. And you just picked up and changed directions mid-season. We're at the end of the season, wherever you are in this, who knows? But you weren't supposed to take creative control, and you did. You were supposed to just read your lines, go along with the improv of the actors around you, stick to the script of which you didn't even know perhaps you were even a part of, or continuing to respond and react in the situational comedy of your life that was kind of a dramedy in many ways. Maybe even a horror flick for some, it's just you were supposed to just play along. Everything was put in place for you to just play your role. So good for you for flipping the script. Let me just take a couple. Ooh, what was that? Bliss. Wow. Okay. What else? Yeah, it wasn't that wasn't supposed to be a part of the script. Bliss is not supposed to. Ooh, North Node. Look at that. You were supposed to stay down here. And that South Node for the rest of your life, for the rest of the series. Courthouse. You see how that's spent around? These cards do that, so I'll still take it upright. But yeah, like I said, there's something that's being that is being equalized legally, spiritually. There's some balance that's happening here, because you may not have even known how you were being disenfranchised, taken advantage of. Ooh, look at that. Look how that came out too. Wow. Yeah, they tried to kill you off your own damn show. Imagine that. I'm hearing like the Sopranos in my head. Some illegal gangster shit that was not admissible, at least not by divine standards. Yeah, like you would have never thought Tony Soprano would get killed, right? HBO is good for a twister like that, though, ain't they? One more. So yeah, there was definitely some. It was pretty much, that was to be the climax ultimately, to keep you on this cycle, on this loop, until you maybe ultimately even, eliminated yourself for the big finale. The series finale was supposed to end in your demise. Expectation. That was the expectation, that it would be this, but not that. And they waited patiently, or maybe not so much, but at least continue to do their due diligence to make this, there was writing and planning and posturing for this great finale here, that it was supposed to just, happen like clockwork, only a matter of time. Like, this is what the story was on track for. I mean, they are the writers, creators, and producers of it after all, so why would it end any other way? And every other season has gone according to plan, except for this one. There was not an expectation for creative control to be apprehended. Hijacked in some ways. But it is what it is. And there's nothing that can be done about it now, that's for sure. courthouse is here, which means that there's cause and effect, and everything that is to be balanced will be balanced and put in order. And those that are due justice will receive it on their own terms. Justice for those disenfranchised, and for those that were doing the disenfranchising. Those that have been taken more than what they deserve and more than what they're worth and good for, and taking advantage of a system that was constructed in the favor of the imbalance and disproportion, will now experience what that feels like to be on the other end. To now have to be the ones to have to shop their talents, to find some, to shop around and find a way to make do and to make a living and keep their heads above water and support their livelihoods, their families, in what will feel like an imbalanced way to them, because they've been used to helping themselves to so much. So folks that have been living high off the hog on account of others, on account of taking advantage of others, keeping others locked into unfortunate circumstances, it feels like a great disadvantage for them to just have what is naturally due to them, because they've been used to taking so much more than what they're entitled to. So when you don't have the leeway, the opportunity to do that, to cause the imbalances, to infuse the imbalances, and then to benefit and profit from them, yeah, it does feel like a rock bottom. Because now where are you going to make your coin? Where are you going to find that validation of power and value that you were ultimately extracting and siphoning from someone else's hard work and talent and dedication and commitment, and in some ways like trauma, misfortune, or just ignorance, or what's the other word, like naivete, desperation, submission, sacrifice. I felt that heavy. Yeah, a lot of the talent, the stars, natural born stars, were just merely sacrifices. It's like miss one, next 15, one coming. That's what this energy is giving me. Like expectation, like, oh, we're done with that. All right, what's the next one? Trauma factory. Oh, they got over that. Oh, what can we infuse this season? What drama can we exacerbate? What do the people want to see? What's going to really bring eyes to the screen, or butts in the seats, or whatever? Advertising dollars. This is so much deeper than what I have time to go into. And I knew it was spiritual now that especially now I'm this stuff down here, Death Magic, Courthouse, South Node, North Node. Yeah, it's deep. And all of those back house, top, floor, corner office players, like I said, that have just been collecting checks off of others' misery, off of others' demise. Oh yeah, it's time to pay up. Ooh, not the priest, child. Not the priest. Karmic masculine. Wow. And it's like giving the energy of somebody that you should be able to trust, or that has a moral duty to operate in a certain fashion with integrity, with honor, with dignity and respect for self and for others. And this is what is given. Karmic. I don't even know what to say about that. That's kind of a shock. Kind of, but not really. And maybe that becomes the new subject matter, the new trauma and drama, like these energies being unmasked and uncloaked. The so-called powers that be, the boys clubs, the executives, the suits, the secret associations and affiliations, the diabolical practices that go on behind the scenes of what we ultimately are force-fed to consume or to deal with, to whatever, like the products that we're left with. The new source of entertainment is watching these structures completely deteriorate from the inside out. That's going to be the new good TV, premium entertainment. Simultaneously, while watching those that were once the underdog or the conflicted star finally have their triumphant ending and ultimately new beginning, where there is perpetual bliss and perpetual abundance, positivity, productivity, prosperity. Yeah. Two very different programs, but a must-see and a must-watch nonetheless. All right, so I'm going to leave that there. Thanks for listening and watching. Until next time, as always, I leave you with peace.